what are you doing every month when you say that you're reconciling your books? Let's just clarify that for some people.
It's pretty simple. I don't have a lot of receivables and inventory and things like that, but I reconcile with the banks and I reconcile credit cards. I'm also CFO for my wife's business, and we have a lot of bank accounts for various reasons. We have a company that owns a building. There are 5 credit cards. I just reconcile everything. And
So
I
what do you
do
mean by
click down.
reconcile though? Like make it
Well,
fifth grader. What are we doing with our reconciling here?
match and agree. On this over here, it says there was a $200 expense to Home Depot. Go over here and see what showed up on my credit card. I mean,
There
is
you
that actually, we've got an expert sitting here. That's who we need to hear from. I like it. And that is a major, I mean, it's a burden, but I like it. When everything's
You enjoy
done and
doing it.
reconciled, I get to click, boom, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that really helps, because if you despise it, you don't know how to do it, there's something wrong, and you may understand what reconciling is, but you don't know how to do that in QuickBooks.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, Leah will have more concrete examples and maybe some other stories along this line. But yeah, that's the fundamental is to match and agree with something.
Right.
External, credit card company, mortgage company, the bank. I'm trying to think what. I also like, and Leah, maybe you can describe this, but many times when I walk in, people who have books, and I'm a new coach, and I want to see their balance sheet. Well, forget the balance sheet. I just go to accounts receivables, and there are a bunch of negatives in there, right? Negative accounts receivable mean that they overpaid you by double, and I would go, who's this guy? Oh, he doesn't know me anymore. What's this? Did they pay you twice? No. Well, I immediately know that nothing in their books is correct.
Yep.
So there's reconciling with your accounts receivable. And that's pretty obtuse for our general contractor. You know, that's not fun to do. Don't know how to do it. Takes all your time. So you've got to find somebody else to do it in there. You agree with that, Leah?
Yes. So for most businesses, because I actually got some pushback, I have an episode right now on my podcast that talks about bank statements as an evidence source. And I got some pushback about what I'm going to say, but this is just for the most basic, the most common business are those small to mid-sized businesses that maybe just have 1 or 2 people doing their books. That's what I'm talking about. Their financials are prepared for the purpose of a bank loan, typically, and for taxes. That's the purpose. So they're not kept on accrual, and they're not audited, and they're, we're not doing all this stuff. So on a cash basis, whenever you're reconciling, you're just wanting to make sure that whatever went through the bank is in your system. And whatever is in your system that hasn't yet cleared the bank, then I ask myself, why hasn't this cleared? Should it have cleared? But I'm just making sure I'm taking something that someone that I've trusted, that's supposed to be good at this, maybe it's myself, but I have controlled QuickBooks this whole time, or my bookkeeper has controlled. So there's human error involved. Forget fraud for a second. There could just be, I forgot to record a transfer, or I forgot to record something. By comparing that to the bank and the bank statement at the end of the month, that helps me make sure, okay, I didn't forget anything. I'm not going to overdraw my account. That's how we know these things. And then at the end of the month, hitting that reconcile button that Martin, you were talking about, that tells us, okay, everything up until that, through that date of reconciliation, which is usually the last day of the month, it matches, we're good to go. Then the next month, I only have to reconcile those 30 days or those 31 days.
Yeah.
I have a situation that came up that I referred elsewhere, but they had imported everything from the bank into QuickBooks, but had never done that reconciling step. And so whenever I'm looking at it and they're wanting to know where the problem is, I now have to go back 5 months and reconcile 5 months of these things. Like, that's why you just want to do it on a monthly basis, check your transactions, and also there's this sense, I know, like I am involved in our billing process. I know how much we're supposed to collect. I know, I should have this general sense of, so if I feel like our cash is tight, I'm going to go look at those receivables that you were talking about, Martin. I'm going to say, who have we not collected from? Because we did a whole lot of work last month and we should have collected by now. So then I can get my executive assistant on the phone or myself saying, hey, just checking on this payment, right? And then if that client says, oh, I sent that payment, now I'm asking questions, where did that payment go? Did we receive it? Did it get sent somewhere else? So really, a lot of times just detecting fraud, it doesn't even have to be really a science. When you're the business owner and you're that close to the operations, you have a general sense of, and I think a lot of times whenever somebody's not great with numbers, they really discount that sense that they have. Like, what you're selling, what you should be collecting, roughly what your expenses normally are or should be. And if they're not, ask questions and don't let the bookkeeper or controller, the people who are quote unquote good with money, explain things to you and they don't make sense, but you're like, I'm not a numbers person, and you just let it go. Like, accounting is just on the cash basis system, which is what most people are on. It is simply categorizing. To summarize, for the financial statements, you're just categorizing where did money come from and where did it go. That's all you're doing.
Yep.
And so if your bookkeeper can't explain where did the money come from and where did it go, keep asking questions. I can't tell you how many stories I've had as an investigator, or I've heard from other investigators, that they'll say, well, yeah, I just assumed that this was just over my head. Well, that just perpetuates the scheme. Things usually make sense, especially in the world of accounting. Like, it's just money. You collected money and you spent money. That's it.
And what's
Keep
left
asking
over.
questions. And what's left over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. You've simplified a couple of things. One is regular financial reports that have been reconciled. And then where did it come from? Where did it go?
Right.
Right. You don't have to get into basis and even debits and credits. I mean, they're there, but you don't have to do anything with it. Just those two things.